the Tomorrow People here. We're going to hear their theme. Actually, if you have a chance to take a look at the screen while you're listening to this, if you're watching it. Yeah, isn't that riveting? Goes through all the DNA codes, all the human evolution, DNA upgrades going on. Yeah, there was a lot of fascinating stuff about this show. It ran from 1973 till 79. It was directed by Roger Price. It was produced by a company called Thames. They're a United Kingdom subsidiary of television. I guess that's how you would describe them. It aired on the ITV network over there. We didn't get it over here till 1981, and I watched it every day. You know, we got the reruns shown 3 and 4 times over for the next few years, and it was just riveting, this show. These kids had extrasensory perception skills like no other. They were telepathic and had all this technology, dealt with the Galactic Federation. At the same time, it didn't seem so far-fetched. I mean, it seemed maybe a century into the future versus several centuries into the future like you see with some scientific shit, right? It was just a riveting show. And the Pleiadians, since I've had my channelings with them, they have talked about the kids that'll start to be born on a mass scale in the early part of the 40s of this century. So, you know, that's not too far off. Basically, ever since the 90s, these kids have had a DNA upgrade every 10 years or so on a mass scale. And this kind of thing is coming. And it's been talked about, too, that director Roger Price had some contact with the Pleiadians or had an affection for them. And I have no doubt, after watching this show several times as a kid and thinking back on it and catching a couple episodes here and there to refresh myself, totally Pleiadian inspired. You know, they talked about the third eye on this show. It was just phenomenal. I mean, it was more than just another science fiction show made in a studio. I mean, not that it wasn't filmed in a studio, but this wasn't Doctor Who. You know, we got Doctor Who over here at about the same time. Doctor Who was like watching paint dry to me. I mean, it was like watching lawn furniture rot slowly. I like the dog on their canine, but that's because I like dogs. The robotic dog he had, but it was just flat to me, a very flat show. The plot was not terrible, but pretty common. And it just, I don't know, the acting wasn't that terrible. It just seemed really, really dry compared to this. This was really foretelling the future of children and how children probably are on human-like planets in 5th and 6th density in Pleiades. Well, how all humans are, but how their civilization developed. You know, it started with the kids, is what I'm saying. And I think it's no different here. Of course, it's new generations that come in, right? And these new generations are older and older souls. Yeah, the Tomorrow People was riveting, to say the least. And I think a lot of people, if they were to go back and watch a few episodes now, or people especially that had seen it before, they would be like, wow, yeah, it was pretty special. It was a good show, and I couldn't get enough of it. The characters seemed so real, even though it was totally far off compared to what we were used to seeing in the mainstream of anything, right? But it was a lot more believable as something that could be seen in our lifetimes than, say, something from Buck Rogers, right? Whereas you're thinking, oh, you know, that'll be several hundred years away. Tomorrow People rocked.